The air over Colony Vega shimmered with an uneasy stillness, as if the world itself held its breath. Marcus Rook, the colony's commander, stood atop the central observation tower, scanning the horizon through the faint green glow of his augmented visor. Around him, the colony hummed with controlled chaos. Soldiers running drills, engineers patching worn-out defense turrets, and patrol drones zipping through the twilight sky. The serenity of routine masked the storm of questions swirling in Marcus's mind. For months, strange energy surges had rippled across the Earth's remnants, phenomena that no human technology could explain. The anomalies grew stronger each day, causing blackouts, mysterious weather patterns, and spikes in seismic activity. Some whispered about extraterrestrial visitors. Others muttered doomsday theories. Marcus, a pragmatist by nature, dismissed the rumors as mere panic. Until today. Commander, you need to see this. Lieutenant Doran's voice crackled through Marcus's earpiece. Descending to the operations center, Marcus felt the weight of every step. Doran, a lean man with sharp eyes and a calculating demeanor, pointed to the holographic display table. A cluster of unidentified blips hovered over Earth's upper atmosphere, moving in a synchronized formation. Unlike meteors or satellites, these objects defied known trajectories and speeds. They arrived 2 hours ago, Doran said, his tone devoid of its usual confidence. No signals, no broadcasts, just sitting there. Marcus scrutinized the data. How close? Close enough. If they're hostile, they'll be within strike range of Vega in less than an hour. The room fell silent as Marcus calculated the odds. He was no stranger to impossible decisions. His last command had ended in disaster, a botched mission in the Arctic waste where half his squad had perished. The ghost of that failure still haunted him, and he swore not to repeat the same mistake. Sound the alert, Marcus said finally. Deploy the air defenses, but hold fire until my command. We don't shoot unless they do first. As the sirens blared, Vega transformed into a fortress. Automated turrets rotated toward the sky, missile platforms locked onto invisible targets, and soldiers scrambled into position. Despite the preparations, unease seeped into the colony like a slow poison. Minutes ticked by, each one heavier than the last. Then, without warning, the objects broke formation. One descended rapidly, trailing a luminous green aura, and landed outside the colony's perimeter. The ground shook slightly, but the craft, if it could even be called that, made no further move. Marcus, it's just sitting there, Doran said, staring at the monitors. Bring a team. We're checking it out. Against the protests of his advisors, Marcus led a small squad toward the alien craft. It stood almost 3 stories tall, its surface a shifting mosaic of black and silver. No seams, no visible entry points, and no markings. Just an otherworldly perfection that seemed to absorb the dim light of Earth's broken skies. As they approached, the air around the craft grew heavier, tingling with an almost electric charge. Marcus gestured for his men to hold their position. He took a cautious step forward, his pulse quickening. The craft reacted. A portion of its surface rippled, then melted away to reveal a blinding white light. Marcus shielded his eyes, but before he could retreat, the light enveloped him entirely. The world fell away. Marcus found himself standing in a featureless void, weightless and disoriented. Then, as if summoned by his thoughts, a figure materialized before him. It was humanoid, yet its translucent skin shimmered with an iridescent glow, and its eyes, 2 swirling galaxies, held a depth Marcus couldn't fathom. Commander Marcus Rook, the being spoke, though its lips did not move. Its voice resonated directly within Marcus's mind, calm yet commanding. We are not your enemy. Marcus steadied himself, forcing his training to suppress his fear. Then who are you, and why are you here? We are the Vardens, the being replied. We have come to warn you of the Harbinger, a force beyond your comprehension, destined to consume your world. Its arrival is imminent. The words hung in the air like an unspoken doom. Marcus struggled to process them. "Why should I believe you?" he said at last. The Vardan raised its hand, and images flooded Marcus's mind. He saw planets reduced to ash, civilizations extinguished in moments, and a vast, dark entity, shapeless yet terrifying, looming over the cosmos. The vision ended as abruptly as it began, leaving Marcus gasping for breath. "We have faced a harbinger before," the Vardan said. "We offer you the means to resist, but time is short. What's the price?" Marcus asked, his voice sharp. The Vardan hesitated, a flicker of what seemed like regret crossing its alien features. "Trust," it said simply. Before Marcus could respond, the void dissolved, and he was back outside the craft. His men were shouting, but their voices sounded distant. He turned to see the craft slowly ascending, its glowing aura fading as it rose. "Commander, are you all right?" Doran asked, grabbing Marcus's shoulder. Marcus nodded, though his mind churned with questions. "Get everyone back to base. I need to address the council." Back at the operations center, Marcus convened the colony's leaders. He explained the Vardan's warning and the visions he had seen. Predictably, the room erupted in debate. "This could be a trap," one officer shouted. "They want us to trust them, so they can take over. Or they're telling the truth," another countered. "Do we really want to gamble with the fate of humanity?" Marcus raised a hand, silencing the room. "I don't trust them either," he admitted. "But if this harbinger is real, we can't fight it alone. We have to prepare, for better or worse." The council reluctantly agreed, though unease lingered in every glance. As the meeting adjourned, Marcus returned to the observation tower, staring at the empty horizon where the craft had vanished. In his heart, he knew the Vardan's arrival was just the beginning. The harbinger was coming, and humanity's fragile existence teetered on the edge of annihilation. The next days at Colony Vega passed in a frenzy of preparations. Marcus Rook could feel the tension in every corridor, every interaction. The warning from the Vardan entity echoed in his mind, gnawing at his resolve. Whatever the harbinger was, it promised destruction beyond imagination, and Marcus knew they had only a sliver of time to prepare. At the operations center, Lieutenant Doran updated Marcus on their progress. "The outer defenses are reinforced, Commander. We've installed additional plasma turrets and fortified the energy shields. The engineers have been working around the clock. And the weapon prototypes?" Marcus asked, his tone clipped. "They're in final testing. High-yield disruptors based on Vardan schematics. If they work as promised, they might give us an edge." "But," Doran hesitated. "But what?" Marcus pressed. "Commander, we barely understand the tech. There's no guarantee it'll hold up under real conditions. And we're trusting data from a source we don't fully understand." Marcus's jaw tightened. He'd considered the risks. Using the Vardan's technology felt like making a pact with the devil, but they had no choice. "We don't have time for guarantees. We'll use every advantage we can get." The first sign of the harbinger's approach came as a shadow on the horizon, a distortion in the air like heat waves rising from scorched earth. Colony Vega's sensors flared with alarms, detecting an incoming anomaly unlike anything recorded. Marcus stood at the observation deck, flanked by Doran and Captain Elias, the head of the colony's tactical unit. Elias, a grizzled veteran with a deep scar across his cheek, stared grimly at the readouts. "It's massive," Elias muttered, "and it's heading straight for us." The anomaly drew closer, resolving into a colossal, pulsating mass of darkness. It hovered in the air, its surface writhing as though alive. Tendrils of shadow extended from its core, probing the landscape with eerie precision. The air grew colder, and an unnatural hum filled the colony. "All units, stand by." Marcus barked into the comms. "Do not engage until I give the order." The harbinger's tendrils lashed out, striking the ground and disintegrating everything they touched. Buildings crumbled and defensive drones dissolved into dust. Panic spread among the civilians, but the soldiers held their ground, awaiting Marcus's command. "Activate the energy shields," Doran shouted. A shimmering dome enveloped the colony, deflecting the Harbinger's attacks. For a moment, it seemed to work. The shadowy tendrils recoiled, unable to penetrate the barrier. Cheers erupted from the control room, but Marcus remained tense. "It's testing us," he said grimly. "This is only the beginning." The Harbinger's next assault came without warning. Its form shifted, condensing into a concentrated beam of energy that struck the shield with devastating force. The dome flickered and power levels plummeted. "Shield's at 40%, Doran reported, his voice strained. "We can't take another hit like that. Deploy the disruptors," Marcus ordered. Across the colony, the experimental weapons powered up, their sleek barrels glowing with an otherworldly light. Engineers had warned of the weapon's instability, but there was no time for caution. The disruptors fired in unison, releasing waves of energy that collided with the Harbinger. The creature recoiled, its form rippling with visible damage. For the first time, it seemed vulnerable. "It's working," Elias shouted. "Keep firing," Marcus commanded, but the victory was short-lived. The Harbinger adapted, its surface shifting to absorb the disruptor's energy. Tendrils lashed out with renewed fury, targeting the weapon emplacements. One by one, the disruptors exploded, their operators consumed in the blasts. "We're losing ground," Doran yelled. Marcus gritted his teeth. "Pull back to the inner defenses. Evacuate the civilians to the bunkers. We hold the line here." As the battle raged, Marcus led a squad to confront the Harbinger directly. Equipped with portable disruptor rifles and Varden-enhanced armor, they advanced through the chaos. The air was thick with ash and the acrid smell of burning metal. "Eyes up, stay tight," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the odds. The squad encountered pockets of resistance, shapeless creatures spawned by the Harbinger, made of the same writhing darkness. They moved with unnatural speed, their strikes lethal. Private Lang, the youngest in the squad, hesitated for a split second too long. A shadow beast lunged, its claws piercing his chest. He crumpled to the ground, lifeless. "No time to mourn," Elias growled, firing a disruptor round that dissolved the creature. "Keep moving." The squad pressed on, the losses mounting with every step. Marcus's armor was scorched and his rifle overheated, but he refused to retreat. At the heart of the battlefield, they reached the Harbinger's core. It loomed above them, pulsating with a malevolent light. The ground beneath it cracked, revealing a chasm of glowing energy that seemed to feed its form. "We have to hit it here," Marcus said. "All charges on the core. We take it out, or we all die trying." The squad planted explosive charges around the core, each one calibrated to detonate in sequence. But as they worked, the Harbinger reacted. Tendrils lashed out, knocking men aside like rag dolls. Marcus found himself pinned, his armor struggling to hold under the pressure. Through the chaos, he saw Doran running toward the last charge. "Doran, no!" Marcus shouted, ignoring the commander. Doran armed the final explosive, his face set in determination. A tendril struck him, but he completed the task before collapsing. "Detonate!" Elias yelled, dragging Marcus to safety. The charges detonated in a blinding explosion, engulfing the Harbinger's core in light. The ground trembled, and a deafening roar filled the air as the creature's form began to disintegrate. Back at the colony, survivors emerged from the bunkers, their faces etched with exhaustion and grief. The Harbinger was gone, but the cost of victory was staggering. Marcus stood in the ruins of the battlefield, staring at the spot where Doran had fallen. Elias approached, his expression hard but respectful. "He knew the risks," Elias said. Marcus nodded, his voice hollow. "And he made the ultimate sacrifice." The survivors began rebuilding, their resolve hardened by the battle. But Marcus knew the war was far from over. The Varden's warning echoed in his mind. The Harbinger was only the beginning. The remnants of Colony Vega stood in fragile defiance. The air reeked of scorched earth and ionized particles, and the once thriving settlement was reduced to rubble. Yet amidst the chaos, Commander Marcus Rook and his remaining soldiers prepared for the final confrontation. The Harbinger's defeat was fleeting. Its remnants had dissolved into the air, only to coalesce again, stronger, larger, and more relentless. The Vardan entity appeared once more, its spectral form flickering with urgency. "You must act now," it intoned, its voice resonating like a chorus of echoes. "The Harbinger is evolving. Each cycle makes it more formidable. Your time is nearly spent." Marcus regarded the alien projection with a mixture of frustration and determination. "You said the disruptors were our best chance, and they failed. What else do you expect us to do?" "There is one final measure," the Vardan replied, its form shimmering. "A detonation of sufficient magnitude, calibrated with Vardan frequencies, can sever the Harbinger's core from its dimensional tether. But such a strike requires an energy source your colony does not possess." Marcus clenched his fists. "Then it's useless advice?" "Not entirely," the entity replied, turning its focus to the ruins of the colony's power station. "Your fusion core can be converted. However, the process is volatile. The one who triggers the reaction will not survive." The weight of the Varden's words hung heavy. Marcus didn't flinch. Sacrifices had already been made. Good men like Doran and more would follow. He wouldn't ask anyone to die in his stead, but the burden of leadership meant he might not have a choice. The Harbinger's return was heralded by a sky split apart by crimson lightning. Its mass, a swirling tempest of shadow and energy, loomed over the colony like a storm given form. Tendrils lashed out, tearing through what little infrastructure remained. The air vibrated with a low hum that resonated in the bones, a harbinger of the end. "All units, hold your ground." Marcus's voice boomed across the comms, rallying the scattered defenders. The colony's final line of defense activated. Makeshift plasma cannons and energy turrets cobbled together from the wreckage of the first battle. Soldiers fired relentlessly, their faces etched with fear and determination. Explosions erupted across the battlefield. But for every tendril severed, another grew in its place. Elias, the grizzled captain who had survived countless campaigns, fought beside Marcus. "This thing's a nightmare, Commander. We can't hold it off much longer." "We don't have to hold it off," Marcus replied, his gaze fixed on the fusion core. "We just need time to prepare the detonation." Elias glanced at the core, understanding dawning in his weary eyes. "You're not seriously planning." "I'll do it myself," Marcus said firmly. "I won't send anyone else to die." "You're out of your damn mind," Elias snapped. "We need you alive to lead these people." Marcus didn't reply. His focus remained on the Harbinger, now fully manifesting in the colony's heart. Time was slipping through their fingers. The task of modifying the fusion core fell to Elias and a team of engineers. The process was delicate, every step fraught with danger. One wrong calibration could vaporize the colony before the Harbinger was within range. The soldiers held their ground, buying precious minutes with their lives. Plasma fire illuminated the battlefield, casting fleeting shadows across the Harbinger's relentless form. The creature adapted faster than they could adjust their tactics, absorbing energy from their attacks and redirecting it with devastating precision. Corporal Vance, a sharpshooter known for his unerring aim, perched atop a crumbling tower. He picked off smaller shadow beasts spawned by the Harbinger, his rifle's disruptor rounds the only thing keeping them at bay. But even Vance's skill couldn't prevent the inevitable. A shadow tendril pierced the tower and Vance fell, his final shot grazing the Harbinger's core. "Commander, we're losing men too fast," a voice crackled over the comms. "We can't keep this up." Marcus grit his teeth. "Hold your positions. Just a little longer." The fusion core was ready. Its pulsating glow now carried a volatile, otherworldly hue, a sign of the Vardan modifications. Marcus approached the console, his footsteps heavy. Elias intercepted him, his face a mask of defiance. "I won't let you do this alone," Elias said. "If anyone's going down with this core, it's me." "Stand down, Captain," Marcus ordered. "That's an order." Elias shook his head. "With all due respect, sir, shove your order. You think this colony survives without you? You're the only one keeping these people together." The argument was cut short by another tremor. The Harbinger's core was advancing, its energy building to a cataclysmic crescendo. Marcus hesitated, torn between duty and survival. "Fine," Marcus relented. "We'll both go. You cover me, and I'll trigger the detonation." Elias smirked grimly. Fair enough. The final approach to the fusion core was a gauntlet of chaos. Shadow beasts swarmed the path, their forms twisting and reforming with every strike. Marcus and Elias fought side by side, their disruptor rifles overheating as they cleared a path. Almost there, Elias shouted over the din. A tendril lashed out, striking Elias square in the chest. He fell with a grunt, blood seeping through his armor. Marcus knelt beside him, his resolve hardening. "Go!" Elias gasped, gripping Marcus's arm. "Don't waste this chance." Marcus nodded, his throat tight. He rose, charging toward the console. The fusion core pulsed erratically, its energy nearing critical levels. As Marcus keyed in the final sequence, the Vardan entity appeared beside him. "The reaction is set. You must stay until the final moment to ensure its completion." "I figured as much," Marcus muttered. The Harbinger sensed the danger, its form surging toward the fusion core. Marcus stood his ground, firing his rifle until it overheated and melted in his hands. "Come on, you bastard," he growled. "Let's finish this." The detonation was blinding, a burst of light and energy that consumed everything in its radius. The Harbinger's form disintegrated, its shadowy mass torn apart by the dimensional rupture. The ground shook, and a deafening roar filled the air. When the dust settled, the colony was silent. Survivors emerged from their shelters, their faces etched with disbelief and grief. The Harbinger was gone, but so was Marcus. In the aftermath, Elias, battered but alive, addressed the remaining colonists. "Commander Rook gave his life for all of us. His sacrifice ensured our survival. We honor him by rebuilding, by ensuring his legacy isn't forgotten." The colony began to heal, its people united by the memory of Marcus's sacrifice. But the Vardan's final words lingered in Elias's mind. This victory is but one step. Greater threats lie ahead. For now, however, humanity had won. And for Marcus Rook, it was a final stand worthy of legend.